All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Renaissance Interview the Legend. This is a series where emerging professionals have the privilege of interviewing legends in our field. And today I have the privilege and the honor of talking with Jim Kirkpatrick, whose contributions have helped shape and grow our field. Jim Kirkpatrick, thank you so much for joining us. And before we proceed, I will give you the honor to introduce briefly yourself to those watching us.
All right, Roberto, good to have you. And I know we talked last week and I enjoyed that, so I'm looking forward to this as well. Some of you may know that I am known as an evaluation expert. I kind of got that from my dad, who in the 50s and 60s and into the 2000s was talking a lot about evaluation and four levels, that kind of stuff. And I worked with him a lot, and I've been over the last couple of years, and especially lately, I've been thinking and talking more about performance, which is not officially one of the four terms of the levels, but it is really the workplace and what happens in the workplace. I have discovered through the work that I've done, people I've talked to, and ideas in my head that I'll share with you, is really where things are going to be the future. And I'm so glad to be working with ISPI, International Society for Performance Improvement, rather than ISLI, International Society for Learning Improvement. There is no such thing, but I'm glad that within your title and your framework is the word performance. So that's what I'm looking forward to talking with you about today, and to the people that will be watching this.
Great, great, great. Thank you for joining us. Now, I have two main questions, and I think we can go from there. The first question is related to your work and how the moment looks like today. So the first one, the question says, your contributions to this field have shaped the way practitioners think and work for decades. When you look at where performance improvement stands today, with AI reshaping organizations, with growing push for rigor and evidence-based practice, how do you see yourself or your foundational work becoming more relevant now than ever?
Well, there is still a lot of tradition when it comes to the training fields or the learning and development field. Those are, my dad talked about those back in the 1950s, and people still talk about that and focus on that words training and learning, development, and all that. And it, in my opinion, it is urgent that we change that thinking. And now AI has come in and rolled us all over with a bunch of wonderful capabilities that take humans so long to write up and to research and all that stuff. So I think the opportunity is really there to focus on the word performance, because AI allows people to generate a lot of information quickly. And with their extra time, instead of doing all that, they will be developing relationships and working in the performance field more so than the traditional learning field. And so the opportunity is there. And I'm just excited to see some people that I know are not believing any longer that good training and good learning leads to results. It's just not true. You can send somebody to training. Let's say you send a couple to, or they decide to go to parent training when their kids are 4 years old and 2 years old. And they think, oh, good, I went to training. That's all I need to do to make sure that they walk down the aisle when they get married and that they graduate and they become productive citizens. It's a start, but it
It's
is
a
what
start.
happens after that and any kind of training takes place. And a lot of what the learning is growing up with children that don't do what you always want them to do, or do things that surprise you. It's the same in our field. This is an opportunity now to begin by developing relationships with people in the workplace, and not huddled around our L&D people, our competency people, our proficiencies, all those kind of things. We need to to stop thinking that that's the most important things and know that the relationships and the performance is where our future is. Now's the time.
Yes, and you know what? You remind me about two things that I wanted to share. When I was in high school, I remember that I took one of those parenting classes. Our job was to carry one egg and keep it alive and ready, and in good shape for 1 month.
Oh
If you
my.
bring that egg to school and you give it to the teacher and the egg was in good shape, you were good to go. And you passed the parenting class because the baby was okay. So this is something that we
Okay.
kind of talking about. I mean, yes, parenting is a little bit more than carrying just an egg and not breaking it during your way, right? And something that,
Okay.
yeah. And another thing that really reminded me was during my degree, I had a professor. Sometimes we know things but it takes another person to frame it differently or a little bit more clearer for us to say, yes, that's exactly what I was thinking about. So he mentioned something. We were having a class where he was focusing on knowing is not the same than doing. So,
Ah,
and the way he mentioned was, yes, we need to focus on sharing our knowledge to people, but that shouldn't be the goal. Because if I know something, that does not mean I'm going to apply it. And that's something related to what you were saying. So I think that sometimes people focus on just creating a nice, beautiful training, knowing what the training is going to be, knowing what the training is going to do, but what should be the goal? Finalizing that training or just making sure that somebody actually put that knowledge into use and actually change the behavior of the person in the workplace.
good.
Yeah.
You know what our biggest foe is, our biggest challenge to overcome? Human nature.
Mm.
Because the research over all the years basically says that about 88% of people in the workplace do not automatically apply what they learned. Now, 12% do. And I'm not one of them. I need a little help. I need a little encouragement. I need some job aids. I need some things. But I know some people that if you teach them, they'll do it. But they're in the
Mhm.
minority. So we have
Yes.
to overcome human nature and make sure that we are stacking the deck and supplying people like me with encouragement, with support, with guidance, with accountability, with partnerships, and all those things to make sure that this myth that if people train and they learn, there will be significant results. That's a big myth. That's not even a myth, it's a lie because of human nature. So here's the key word, Roberto, that I want people to focus on for a couple minutes. And the word is influence. See, my dad and me, and others have focused on evaluation a lot, and they think that's measurement. So here's what they do. They measure the training by a smile sheet. They measure the learning by a knowledge test, not the egg test that you got. It was the smile test, the knowledge test, and then a 90-day survey. How's it going out there? They're still in their learning world, their academy, their schoolhouse. How's it going out there, everybody? They send them a survey. And guess what? They get like 5% coming back. And then level four, well, I don't really know what the results are. That's pretty much too high for us. So the key here is try and influence, not just measure what's happening, but influence what does happen. And I think that what that amounts to is relearning who we are and where to put our emphasis. And it begins with building relationships with people in the workplace. Now, some of them may not want to talk to us. They say, oh, you're learning. We're too busy with work. What you need to do is find some on the other side, whether they're managers or supervisors or high performance individuals that are open-minded enough to say, Roberto, you think you might have some ideas. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. But you got to get them talking first. We don't want to say, "Oh, I got this great leadership training." They're not ready to hear that. You've got to first earn the right to be heard, and you do that by getting them to talk. and they'll talk about things, and pretty soon they'll trust you that you're not just trying to peddle your wares and sell them some kind of training program, but you're there to care. And finally, you know what they'll say to you? They'll say, Roberto, you seem to be really interested and somewhat knowledgeable what's going on here. Do you think you could help us? And then that's time for you to say, you know what? I think if we work together on the performance of your employees, I think together we can make a difference. But people are so eager to want to peddle something and say, oh, here's our AI program, here's our training program, here's our learning program. People aren't ready to hear it yet until they trust us. So that's something I really hope some of you are already doing, and the rest of you need to do because that's our future.
I was reading a book about, I'll say a couple of months ago, and it was a John Maxwell's book. And his last,
Okay.
or one of his last levels is actually influence. And something that you remind me was influence also comes from people that at the beginning do not trust in you. And I think something that he mentioned was like, if you're having some sort of friction within a group of workers or in your workplace, the loudest person going against your way of thinking might be your most solid follower, and you can use that person to continue to influence because the quietest person in the room may say, okay, let's do this. Well, that person might not have a solid word to push your thinking because he just accepted it blindly. But the person that's loud saying this is not going to work, why we need to do this, why we keep doing this. Well, if you get that person to change his mentality, that person can use that same energy to push your way.
That's great. And those are the kind of people that rather us be irritated by,
Yeah.
the challenge will be to listen to them enough and honor them that we can just flip their action into something positive and something collaborative.
Yes.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
I like that a
So,
lot.
yes. So let's say we have, let's keep going over here real quick. These questions related to the next generation.
Ah,
If you could speak directly to young performance improvement professionals who's passionate about this field and 5 years into building their career, what is one thing you most want them to carry forward from the work of the people who came before them? In this case, you, for example.
yeah. That's here's how I'm going to answer that. I'm looking at the upper right corner of the screen there. It says Renaissance, right? And then the AI is in yellow for a purpose, isn't it? It's artificial intelligence. Okay. Now, what I suggest people focus on the future is not everybody is going to be an expert in AI. You know, there are a lot of scientists that are doing that. We want to be users of it. But I suggest, as much as artificial intelligence, you change the wording to actionable intelligence. And let me tell you what I mean by that. That means in the evaluation work you do, in the observation that you're doing, in the 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 working with people, just in any sense, whether it's small groups or encouraging and helping people hold accountable, coaching, mentoring, all that stuff, that you're looking for data and information, not just quantitative all the time, but qualitative, that gives people something they can actually do something with. Now, certainly you can do something with AI, artificial intelligence, but you want to do AI actionable intelligence, give them some information they maybe didn't know, or you kind of pulled from them and said, let's take a look at this. Here's some very interesting information. What do you think it means, and how might it help you? And you help them figure that out. So I really want people to, the common person, to work more on actionable intelligence rather than artificial intelligence. Use artificial intelligence to get them to be focusing on actionable intelligence. And through that action, we'll start to see progress. Now here's the thing that a lot of people get wrong about my dad's work, and that's the four levels. They think that the results are the end in mind. They think it's the GPS address, okay, at the hotel that you're going to in Atlantic City or something. But really, results are along the way, kind of like a GPS journey. Are we starting to see progress through the improved performance? So we want people to be tracking those things that they can see, that they can feel, that they can count alongside their partners and saying, hey, we're on the right track here towards making a significant impact. So people think that level three is about the performance. And then in the very end, well, let's see if it worked or not. That's way wrong. I'm telling you, that's old school. That should be just forgotten. Eventually, you'll need to come up with something significant. But this is about the AI journey, the actionable intelligence, where it's just like a GPS that says monitoring and adjusting, where it says, oh, we're recalculating, right? Because we kind of went a little different way. You want to catch that and make an adjustment through the good evaluation that you're doing, the assessments that you're using. And I can tell you, a survey is not the only way to try and do that. You need to be in the field measuring things. You need to be talking to people. You need to be observing. You need to have a clipboard side by side with people. Use a variety of evaluation and I call them assessment methods to get as close to the truth as you can so you can make those adjustments and celebrate the traction, the early signs of progress. The levels are not meant to be separate. They kind of join together, like especially three and four. Exactly.
There's it's systemic.
Yes. Yes. And
So
old
something that
habits are hard to break. And that's why I hope the new people, younger people, will not be just caught in a bubble, a self-serving bubble. Somehow we think we're really terrific, but we're not unless we become experts in partnering and and the work. The
yeah.
workplace and the performance. That's when
Yeah.
we're going to make a difference. And they'll say, you are really making a contribution rather than then we're going to cut your budget because we don't see that the training is making any difference. And it probably isn't for the most part, to
Yeah.
be honest with you,
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
itself.
But you mentioned something that remind me something that you were talking before, and from I'm talking about the actionable intelligence. That reminded me what we were talking before about knowing versus doing.
Ah,
So yes, artificial intelligence, we all know what that is, but actual intelligence, put that intelligence to action. That's something I didn't think of before, and that's powerful. Something else that I was thinking about, I hear some people that AI is replacing people, and then I say, well, AI is not directly replacing people. Maybe you're being replaced by people who knows how to use AI. But at the
ooh,
same way, I think of AI is replacing people. And I say this because there's some high schoolers doing a bunch of stuff using AI, and they're not actually thinking on the process of, let's say, an assignment that they have to do. And I was talking with my
okay.
mom the other day, and she was kind of saying something in the same word that I was saying. And I was talking with a friend that he was saying, well, AI is bad because now people are getting even more dumber and dumber and dumber because you're not thinking, you're just using AI. I'm the kind of person that say that I can compare this with, for example, the industrialization. When the people in the field were replaced by the industrialization, the people who kept their jobs were the ones who knew how to operate those machines. So yes, some people are leaving, but more are coming into the field because those are the ones that know how to use these actional intelligence or artificial
Or both.
intelligence
Use both.
or
And I
both.
really like what you're saying. We don't have to be worried that AI is going to replace us all because some of the things, leadership kinds of things, you can't, not knowledge and AI isn't enough to do it. And I really like what you're saying. People know how to use it to improve performance and also then to monitor and measure progress.
Yeah.
But here's one key. I think again, I'm pretty hard on our industry because I've worked with them for years and decades. They're very hard to change the minds of people in L&D because They just go into their own conferences all the time and promoting themselves. But the ones that really say, I I'm going to resist the temptation to try and speak too quickly to somebody. I want to hear them out first. And it's very tempting to, like when you said, "Oh, I read a book." I say, "Oh, hey, well, I read that same book," and then I start to tell you about it. That's not helpful to you. Yeah, but look at you. Ah,
We all been
that is
there.
hijacking the conversation, and most people do that. They don't realize they're playing ping pong back and forth. Oh, my dad could beat up your dad, and I caught a bigger fish than you did. You have to resist and ask the second question, and the third question, and the fourth question. Pretty soon they'll say, "You seem to be really interested. What do you think of what I've been saying?" And then you could say, "Here is how you could make better use of AI, artificial intelligence, by saving a lot of time so that those people are not doing all that research and thing. They are out in the field helping supervisors and managers do their job better."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
here's one more point about that. I don't want the new people or even people that have been around to focus on the CEOs and the generals and the admirals and try and impress the high level people. First of all, you're not going to knock on the door of an admiral and he'll say, come in, Roberto. I want to hear what you've been doing lately." If you
Mm.
can impress and help the line managers and supervisors do their job better and their people perform better, they will become your witness and testify to the higher level people that you can't get to. And you shouldn't try and give them an ROI kind of thing, some magic number. They will be impressed by you saying, "We are performing better, and Roberto helped us do it." And
Yeah, I think,
that's it.
yeah, and also I believe that the more Disney is getting smarter and smarter. I mean,
Yeah,
artificial
right,
intelligence,
right.
and sometimes we cannot keep up with its fast path. But the more it grows, the more we have the opportunity as well to gain more skills into how to use it. And I say this because about 1 year ago, I started using Google Notebook LM. And when that thing started, it had only English. Now it has a lot of other languages. And I was sharing with my friends, they speak Spanish, and they say, well, yes, that's a really good tool, but my English is no bueno. Well, now they got it in Spanish, and just in a matter of months. So this thing is growing, and I think that our capabilities of using new skills also can grow along the same path. Maybe not as faster, but it can continue to grow because the more things and the more features they have, the more work we can do with it.
And you're the kind of person that we will talk again. I'm committed to helping ISPI with all this, especially
Thank
the
you.
the PI. That's the part I'm most interested. And I can learn a lot from you, things that I'm either not interested in or certainly not aware of or can't understand. But you explained it in a simple way that I say, now wait a minute, that might be something that I could be part of, that
Yeah.
might help influence me in my last 15 years of my career or something.
Yeah, and I'm positive about this. I think I am one of the person that I like to see the bright side, also recognizing the dark side as well, but I like to see the bright side. And this is something I know I need to learn a lot because I'm not an expert from about AI, but I know at least how to use AI to enhance what I'm doing and make what I was doing better due to it. So, for example, I was working with Claude and I created an app
Ah,
that, yes, so I mean, I feel like a NASA engineer. So, I developed an app, and that app was helping me identify which jobs were specifically related to performance improvement or instructional design. So I did it because I was searching for some jobs using Indeed, LinkedIn, and even though with the filters on, I I continue receiving a lot of random job postings with different titles and everything. I said, hold on, I need to put this a little bit better. So I designed the app where the app is searching directly to specific jobs with specific criteria that I just trained the AI.
I see.
So, I mean, it's working okay. Now I'm working with the security part. but this is for me. This is not for everybody else because I'm not a professional, I'm not an engineer, but it's working. So this is one example of how AI can enhance and what people do and not necessarily be something bad with it. So
I'm glad you used the words. I heard you twice. You say it's working, and you said it's
yes.
working okay. That is a much more important phrase than did it work. By the
Yeah.
time it's did it work, you're looking for some magic, improved 212% ROI. I just don't
Mm,
think most people are going to be impressed with that because they don't really understand it. They don't believe it. But
yeah.
say things are working along the way. We are seeing progress that we now need to capture what this unit is doing at the Navy shipyard, for instance, and spread that, have them tell others what they're doing. If you find something that's working, have them be a kind of a road show, electronic roadshow like this and say, hey, we don't know everything, but we've found some things that are starting to make a difference, and use them in their own organization to share that. Now, you're also a kind of person that I think is a good role model because you're a good listener. You listen to me, not just waiting for your turn to talk. You're trying to understand what I'm saying, and then when it is your turn to talk, you're bold about it, and it's in connection with what I said. So I feel that this is the kind of relationship that's going to make you successful, and you will be a good role model to others. The way that you communicate, not just the content, but it's the way.
I really appreciate those words coming from you.
It's
For
true.
me, it means a lot.
Ah,
So I think, yeah, I think that this conversation also help other people that, for example, may interrupt a little bit, let not hear her, but my wife is kind of the person that interrupts me when I'm speaking, and she's learning. So let me lower my voice. No, I'm joking. She's great. And I used to do that when I was in high school. I like to push my version of my thinking, my view, and I slowly learned how to listen because I was thinking like, well, communication is not because I'm speaking. Communication is a loop of a listener, the message, the receiver. If one of those are broken, then it's not going to be a communication anymore. So the wife example was actually me. I have to learn that.
right.
So and I learned it actually listening and listening and listening. And sometimes I had the experience where I didn't share my experience, but that forced me to, hey, let me just grab what I had and then, put myself into the other shoes of being interrupted by people. And yeah, that's the way I learned. So I hope that this conversation help people to understand that communication is not only sharing what you have, it's also receiving what others have. And that will benefit everybody.
I like that. And human nature, we're not really wound that way. We like to say, well, I want to talk as much as I can, and I'm trying to convince you of something that they may not be ready to hear. But the other thing is, we also have to be bold and say what you're saying is not working. The data that you're coming up with is not showing whether there's progress or not. You need to be bold about the truth. Speak the truth and also say when you hear it, when they're doing it, say, everybody
Yeah.
stop and listen. Would you mind saying that again? Show us what you just said and say that is exactly what we're looking for. Because anytime that you can see somebody else do it, an organization, it's about praising in public. You will light them up, and that is contagious. And others will say, I want Roberto to come here because he makes our people feel good about what they're doing. And I try to do the same thing.
Yeah. 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 Gene Kirkpatrick. Thank you so much for taking from your time to do this. We all know everybody's busy nowadays. Everybody have their schedules filled up until the till the end. So I really appreciate you being here with us. Again, for all of our viewers, this is a series where emerging professionals will benefit from leaders from our field. This is going to be a series. We do not know who's going to be the next one. We are working on it, and for all of us watching it, please stay tuned because we are gonna have a really, really, really good fun times learning from from leaders from our field. Before we go, a very last sentence or a very last thought that you can give to our emerging professionals in general terms.
Well, the last thing is about
Something.
The last thing is about caring for one another.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of very high professionals at the end, they let everyone else talk and they say, we need to care about each other.
Yeah, I
High,
agree.
very high level people in the military said that's what we need to do. And that's
Great.
among all the other things we need to care about each other.
Great. Once again, thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking from your time. I really appreciate all the work that you have done. We all benefit from what you have done, and we are continuing to grow based on that. And let's get ready for the next one. All right.
Sounds good. Good talking with you,
All right.
Roberto.
Until next time.
All right.
All right.